Hey guys, so today we're going to do my July Plan With Me spread. First things first is we're probably going to flip through a little bit of June. I'll go over the supplies that I'm going to use and then we'll dive right into it. So grab coffee, tea, anything like that, and let's get going. So for July, I actually want to try watercolor. I have yet to try watercolor. I did this yesterday just to see how much it wrinkles. I've seen videos of people using watercolor in their journals, and so I think it'll be okay, just a little bit. I use watercolors quite a bit in my art and other things that I do, so I wanted to bring it into this. So let me first step back and we'll look at my June. So yeah, let's look at my June spread. I have been doing kind of a big calendar, and as you can see, I don't do a ton of, things on it. So I feel like I like the look of it, but I actually don't use it that much. So I think that this month I'm going to go with a smaller calendar. And then some of my weeks, I've been doing a lot more, trying to be looser, trying to be a little bit more colorful in my spreads. That was kind of a test run that didn't work out. And then I was trying to focus a bit more on my budget, which I'm going to redo this page. Not very fun to look at. And then just trying out different styles in June. I had a lot more fun. This is kind of where I've landed on recently, and what I've been enjoying is really this kind of loose, more doodly, just adding in tons of stuff. Plus, to me, adding in a little bit of journal every day. And I've really been liking that, a little bit like an opening page where I kind of track some items that are important to me, and also adding in a weekly review. And then this one I did a tutorial on, you can see that, but it's same kind of style where it's much looser stuff going on. So, I left myself a page for a monthly review, which I'm probably going to do tomorrow. Just kind of, this will be my first time doing a monthly review, and I want to see how that works. So that's kind of what's going on there. And I'm actually going to remove a sticky note, and I'm very big on the sticky notes to plan out a page ahead of time, so you'll notice that I use those quite a bit. So let's remove that sticky note. And so yeah, here I'm ready to do my July page, but first let's go over some of the supplies I'm going to use. So I've really been using this notebook quite a bit for just kind of rough sketching of what I want to do in a layout, or what kind of style I want to use. This is, I was just kind of playing around with what paints might work. So this is some gouache here, some watercolor. This is trying to use some fine liners over some markers. And then this is where I started to kind of hone in on what I wanted to do for this week. So I have been enjoying using this as kind of a jumping off point. So that is actually my first supply, is just kind of a junky sketch pad. So I went with Rose. Bunch of markers, Tombow, all your greatest hits, Crayola, mild liner, which I love these, and then I chose some kind of pinky golds to go with it in case I want to use some washi tape. Not necessarily use those. And then of course I use all the fine liner pens, a white pen maybe, a pencil, and this is kind of my favorite. I'm not very good at brush lettering, but this one I can do it with. Okay, so jumping into the voiceover, unfortunately I did my watercolor materials, and I did a little bit of my beginning of my watercolor, and all of that wasn't recorded. So here's a little bit of just the watercolor technique that I've used in the pages. I'm using Holbein Artists watercolors and Rose Madder and Violet Purpley color, and just kind of washing those, kind of just goobing them on, just getting a little bit of color and some water and kind of mashing it around a bit to kind of get a loose, combining both colors and letting them just melt together so that I can go back and put some quotes and inspirational stuff. I think this month I was kind of going for a rose colored theme. A bunch of peonies are blooming in my yard, and it's kind of like I was just inspired by that bright blooming flower color, and that's kind of where I went with this month's theme, is just bright floral rose and pink colors and a little bit of purple here and there to kind of accent it. So I lay down a bunch of the paint and kind of see as it starts to dry how that's doing, and then move it around. I'm leaving it really kind of wet and loose, and yeah, gave me the effect that I liked, and I actually did really enjoy how it turned out in the end. So again, this little bit is from the end of the video because I didn't record the first part of the video. So here you are, you can see that I've already done quite a few areas. I was going to have 2 different quotes, and then at the top kind of have my header for July and my little calendar. And you'll see me jumping around the page quite a bit, and that's because I'm trying to work, like, instead of just stopping and doing what I was, stopping and letting it dry and then coming back, I just kind of kept working around the wet paint. I also put my hand in it quite a bit. So I was doing on the left a vertical habit tracker, and this is a new thing for me, doing a habit tracker for a full month. I usually do any kind of habit tracking within the day itself or for the week, and honestly I haven't done a ton of habit tracking itself. So this is me just kind of doing a few habits, and I'm gonna number down the side. And then I wanted to do this whole page as kind of a monthly overview and do a goals section and a general task section. So that can be something I refer to as I'm doing my weekly layouts and be like, these are my goals for the whole entire month. These are the tasks that I really want to get done, so I can keep coming back to them. So besides the watercolor, the other part of my theme for this month was kind of doing these bright marker florals, and I chose colors that are very similar to what I did with the watercolors, and you could have watercolored these as well and then drawn over them with a fine liner, but it's just kind of doing the marker floral and then just adding all these different kind of doodads to it and just kind of making it explode with different kind of floral decorations. I seem to be heading towards liking busy layouts with lots of decorations and doodles, and it just looks really pretty to me. And so I saw a couple of things on Pinterest that were kind of similar, and so I brought a few things together to make these just kind of floral explosions using those pinks and purples and whatever. And I have to say that this layout took a little bit longer than I wanted because these little leaves, I gotta fill them in, and each one is a little bit more time intensive than I thought. And I end up sprinkling them all throughout this month overview page, and then also sprinkling them on because I do my first week layout of July. And so overall, I think that the spread, all the pages together took an hour and a half. Some of that was some waiting. And just keeping it really bright is really what I was going for. For me, I live in Vermont, and most of the year is really gray and dark and miserable. I do enjoy winter, but it is 1 or 2 color season. So when it comes to summer, I just think about something really bright and colorful. And so that was me just mashing a ton of color into this page. I did want to try this out. This is actually my first time trying it, is doing this smaller calendar. I tested it out in the back, and it's a 3x3 little grid for each day. And I don't have a ton of things that go on the calendar, just a few items here and there. And so I wanted to try this out. I just threw 4th of July on there, but it did seem to give me enough space to do the few things that I do. So I'm going to try that going forward. And then I wanted to do 2 boxes below to kind of track my Instagram progress for this account and my YouTube progress, because those are really beyond my goals. Those are kind of my focuses for the month, is to kind of get things rolling and start tracking that and understanding what works for my bullet journal stuff and sharing this. I've really been enjoying the bullet journaling and bringing my art into it and just being more productive and feeling more on top of it, everything. I definitely have been struggling with anxiety in the past, and having a place to not only be creative, but to record what I've worked on and what I've accomplished, and to kind of keep me focused, a place to just dump everything into, has been so good. And I really like adding in little quotes and things. I have like a whole Pinterest board with quotes that I want to add to different things. So usually I pick them out before I do my spread, and just about creating more, just for the fun of creating. Last year I did Inktober. I really, really enjoyed just every day trying to make something. So that has been also a kind of a goal and a focus, is to just create more in my life. And then just adding July at the top. I'm not very good at brush lettering, but I am getting kind of better. And I added those little borders, just kind of make those two areas pop out. And I had that big space, so more of these flowers. That actually took me a long time. The other thing I've been liking is having kind of a doodle style for a setup. So I've been doing my weeks where I have certain doodles or certain kind of theme for the week, and then as I'm going throughout the week and I've got a minute, I can add a little bit more and it'll all fit into that style. So this week, with all these kind of floral, botanical doodle bits, as I'm going throughout the month or the week, I can keep adding in more and it'll all kind of match up, and it'll give me kind of a jumping off place to just add more and decorate it without feeling like stressed about having to think about how it'll fit in. So I've enjoyed that part of it too as well. So just adding those in, and again, this actually took me a lot longer than I thought, and I think I'll be a little more mindful when I do a longer, like a full month spread. Actually, you can see that it's getting dark outside, and I didn't expect that. I thought, oh, I'll spend about an hour. So if you notice that camera's getting a little dark, it's because I had to finally go and turn on lights and not rely on the daylight, so things might get a little yellower. I think in the future I will film these on a Sunday afternoon when I have a lot more time to just explore, like super dark. So yeah. And then adding in washi tape, that's always that thing where I kind of pick out washi tapes. There we go, I think I turned on a light. So just, yeah, adding washi tape, and I don't know why, but I just like to fill in all the different spots, and it's definitely my style, is to put stuff everywhere and make it as pretty as possible, which I know I also look at people that do really minimal spreads, and I'm kind of jealous sometimes that they can make it look so neat and perfect, but to me, adding more is better, and so that's how I do things. So I'm constantly like, oh, add a little more color here, add a little more color there. And I'm probably going to go back and actually black outline the goals and tasks with like a kind of a drop shadow to make that stand out a little more. So this page I'm going to do really quickly and speed it up because it's not very interesting. What I'm doing here is my budget. In the center, I do kind of my budget for things like that are variables, like gas, food, eating out, spending money on shopping, clothes. So I do 4 columns, and I put in the first column for each week the name of the category that I'm doing, and then I put in the next column my budget for that week, so maybe a budget of $50 for gas, and then I put in the third column my actual, and then in the fourth column at the end I kind of plus and minus it. And then on the left, I put in my fixed bills. So those are bills that I know, when they're due and how much they're for. And then as the month goes on, as I pay each one, the mortgage, I'll fill in the little bubble next to it to let me know that it's paid. And then along the bottom, I do my credit cards, just so that the balances of my credit cards are right. And then I use a mild liner to just distinguish between the lines as I'm going through. So I use those for my week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and doing my categories across. You'll see me flipping back to my June budget page, which is mostly filled in. I did film this before the end of June, so it's not quite filled in. And this time around, I'm kind of leaving my numbers off of there. So there's me labeling each of the little budget sheets. Yeah. So that's not the most exciting page, so I figured nobody wants to watch me do that. And I do decorate it as I go back. Like I'll come back and, like I said, add in a little bit of botanical stuff, but I don't just decorate it straight up. It's more of a keeping myself in line. And part of that is I've been also on my weekly spreads putting in a spending log. So what I spend that week goes into that long area on the left. And then again, I bring in my goals that are overarching from the month spread and meals, and then I do a weekly review to kind of go through, so that way when I come back and look at the month, I can look quickly at the review and kind of see how did I think things went. And just adding my date for this first week of July. And I do weeks from Monday to Sunday, and I don't stop if a month starts in the middle of, obviously I'm starting on the 2nd of July, and July 1st is actually on the week now. So I don't really stop right at July 1st and start a new month. I kind of do things by week chunks. So that's what works best for me. So yeah, I'm just adding lighter decorations on this page because I'm starting to realize how long it's taking for me to do this layout, and just adding in my typical Monday, Tuesday. I usually do a half page per day, and making a mistake right away. I dipped my hand in the wet paint, and then I wrote the wrong letter. So I'm going to blame it on dipping my hand in the wet paint. But that's not my only mistake in this spread, because I have to make more than one. And just, this is what I'm going to probably go back and do all my fonts on the July overview page with just a little bit of a drop shadow so that it shows up better. And adding in more botanicals that take forever to draw. But I think that I really like how it turned out in the end. Yeah. And of course, more flowers everywhere. I'll probably turn you guys over to music in a minute and just let you go and watch the rest of it.
Such perfection. spoken. We can't hold this charge.